Hello guys, welcome to the Java course programming section 2 and lecture 8. Today's agenda, we are going to discuss ternary operator, switch statement and variable scope. Let's begin. Ternary operator. Ternary operator operates on three operands. The first operand or expression must evaluate to a Boolean value, and it is a logical expression that help us decide which of the second and third operand will execute. Based on the expression, if true, if the expression or first operand is true, the second operand will execute. If the logical expression evaluates to false, the third operand will execute. This is the format. Expression, this is logical expression. If true, this is true block, and this is false block. If the expression evaluates to true, this block will execute. If the expression evaluates to false, false block will execute. This operator is equivalent to an if-else block, if-else statement, and can be used for simpler branching, for example to control the output or assignment to a variable. This is a very handy operator. For example, int x is equal to 3 and boolean even. This is a variable and we decide if 3% of 2 is equal to 0. If it is true, even will be true. If it is false, even will be false. And switch statement. Switch statements, there are various situations when you have to choose between multiple fixed options, only suitable for fixed options, not for the ranges of values. If you are going to compare ranges of values, you have to use if-else statements. The criteria used to select the option to execute can be an integer, byte, short, character, enum, or a string. String is introduced in JDK 7 for the switch statements. Based on switch expression or a value, associated case statement will execute. The break statement is used to break the execution of the selected case block. Otherwise, the next case will execute. Switch statements can also be nested. There can be at most one default block. Every switch statement can have at most one default case block that must execute if no other case block is selected for execution. So this is the general format and this is the flow chart. Okay, so this is starts with the switch keyword, and inside the parentheses we will enter a value or some expression that evaluates to some constant value, and that value is matched for the cases. If it matches case 1, its block will be executed. Break statement will exit the switch statement and stop execution of the next blocks. Same way, if this expression or value matches case 2, this block will execute. If no case will match, default will execute. And if we don't put break statement here, this will fall down to the next execution of case 2. So case 1 executes and case 2 executes. And if this break statement is not there, then default will also execute. So it will trickle down like this. This is the flow chart. So it starts with switch and we pass a value and it matches the cases. If a case is matched, its statement will execute. If no case matches, default will execute and it will go to the next statement or end of the program. Variable scope. Variable scope is very important in Java programming. In almost every programming, variable scope is like a you can say a space where a variable is visible or accessible. Variable scope is an important concept that defines the scope where a variable can be referenced or accessible. There are various scopes in a Java program. For example, block level scope. A variable is only visible or accessible within a block, such as an if statement, loop, function, or a block of code. A variable must be declared before it can be referenced or used. This is mandatory. You must declare and even initialize a variable before you can use it within the program. The variable declared is an in and outer block is accessible and visible in inner blocks, but the variable declared within the inner block are not visible outside of that particular block. So that's all, guys. Let's begin coding. Hello guys, let's practice lecture 8 concepts: ternary operator and switch statement and variable scope. Let's create a class. Lecture 8, ternary operator. Clean this up and now create another class. Let's name it switch statement. Lecture 8, switch statement, and another for the third concept, variable scope. Lecture 8, variable scope. Okay, clean this up and this one too. Okay, let's begin with ternary operator. Ternary operator. Let's add main method, and this is the format of ternary operator. Operator format, that is condition and true class, and that is false class. Okay, we need 3 operands. If the condition is true, this will operate. If the condition is false, this will operate. So let's create some kind of comparison. Let's say we run let's say we have a number x is equal to 5. Okay, so and we want to determine this is a boolean number, this is an even number. Boolean even is equal to condition 5 percentage of 2 is equal to 0. This is a logical operation and it evaluates to true or false. So if it is true, and we have value of true, otherwise we will set it to false. Let's print it. Value of x is equal to 5 is even. Okay, even. So it's supposed to print false. Let's test it. Okay, it is false because 5 is not an odd number, sorry, even number. So it will set the even to false. This class will be stored. So ternary operator is used for various short or limited branching. mostly to assign values or to output something. Instead of using if-else statements, we can use ternary operator. It is useful in various small branching. We can output different things and we can do a lot of stuff with this operator. Okay, let's go with switch statement. Main. Okay, now switch statement. Switch statement is useful for the selection of certain branches with a fixed value. Fixed value is important in switch statement. So the good use of switch statement is like calling different operations or methods based on the menu selection. For example, let's write a simple menu loop to interact with the user. Okay, let's say we have a function. Ignore the do while. I will explain it in the next lecture. Do while, and let's say we have a choice int choice is equal to 0 and choice is less than 0 or choice is greater than, let's say, 3. So we will repeat it. I will explain the anatomy of do while loop in next lectures. I think lecture 9 or 10. Okay. Import java.util.scanner to interact with the user. Create scanner object, scanner keyboard, new scanner, system.in. Close the scanner to release resources. Keyboard.close. Okay, print the menu. Select option 1. Let's say A. Number 2, select option B. Select option C. And 0 for exit. Now read. Enter option. Okay, now choice is equal to keyboard next int. So we will read the input from the user. Okay, now we switch the statement. Choice. Okay, switch is based on cases. Case 1, option A selected, and we must break it. If we don't break it, it will trickle down to the next case and execute that one too. Option B selected, break. Case 3, system S out, option C selected. And let's add default to understand how default work. S out. Default is selected. Okay, now let's break it. Run it. Don't need anything else. Okay, run. So the menu will be displayed and we enter our option. Let's say 1. So option A is selected. Let me see why it is. If less than 0. Okay. Okay, we need to break it here. Only in case of 0. Okay, let's run it again. It will repeat now until we enter 0. Okay, 1. So it will print option A selected. So how it works? It works, choice takes, a switch takes the value of choice and compare it with the case labels, and it find this matching case and execute it. And this break statement exits the switch statement. If we enter 2, it will match this one and skip it, and then it is exact match. So we find this value to be printed on the console screen. If we enter 3, this case will be executed. In case of no matches, no case matches, this will display. Let's experience. Let's say we enter 5. So 5 entered default case because there is no case label with 5. Similarly, these are integer labels. We can use characters, we can use enums, we can use strings, and these data types can be used as a case expression and label. And switch, one thing is important to understand about the case, so a switch and case. If we have values that are exact values, for example these choices, for example some other value that is exact, for example months, for example days, we can use switch statements. We can also use if else, but if else is more appropriate if we have ranges of values. For example, if we want to execute this statement in case choice is equal to a range of numbers, for example 1 to 10. So if we want to run this code, if we use switch, we have to place 10 cases to execute this value. So that will be inappropriate. So if else will be the better choice. In case of constant values or unique and exact values or fixed values, switch is a preferable choice. It is best usable for the menu driven applications. Let's move to variable scope. Let's add main method. Okay, so variable scope. Variable scope is very important. There are various scopes. I'm not talking about classes and subclasses and other things and package level access, because I have not discussed in any lecture so far about the object-oriented programming. I will discuss those in the section 5, I think. So so far or at this level, it is better to understand the variable within a method. So understand this. This block statement. This block statement is the scope. For example, if we declare int I is equal to 5, let's say, int j is equal to, let's say 10. This I is available within this block, but this j is not available outside of this block. Let's experience. I is equal to I and j is available. Okay, let's say I accessible here, and I also accessible here. Outside, let's say inside, j is available here, j accessible here, inside. J is not accessible here, plus j. It is a syntax error because compiler cannot understand variable j. It is undefined here because it has a limited scope. Same way, let's remove it. Let's run it. Okay, I is accessible at this level. J is accessible. Yes, J is accessible here. I is accessible outside the block? Yes, it is available outside the block. So now if we, let's say we have a loop here for int x is equal to 0, x is less than 10, x plus plus. Okay, we define j here. So x multiplied by j. Now let's say we just print j value. Okay, so j is accessible within the block of for loop, but it is not available outside of for loop. It is not accessible. And let's say we have this 5 is I is available within the block because it is outside of the outer block, outside of the for loop block. Okay, same way we, let's say we have if x is equal to 5, another level. So we declare a variable here int, let's say that y is equal to 5 or 3. So y is available here, y is here, but it is not available at this level. Y is not here. Why? Because it is enclosed within the if block. So this is how variable scope works. The rule of thumb: number 1, must declare a variable before you use it. Number 2, you must consider the scope of variable. Outer space variable is visible within inner scope. Number 4, inner scope variable is not accessible outside of that scope, or say inside outer scope. So these are basic points. You must understand these points so that you can avoid syntax errors. Thank you guys. That is all for this lecture, and see you in the next lecture. Thank you. Have a good day.